Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Welcome back to Listen Up. Thanks for joining me again on this last check-in before a Wednesday night matchup against St. John's. A quick update on the AP poll before we get into this matchup. UConn went back 2 spots to number 7. Tennessee jumped up to number 15 after their victory over our Huskies. South Carolina also dropped 2 spots after their loss Sunday to the Texas Longhorns. And finally, the Creighton Blue Jays, they come in at number 24 for this week. Of course, the Blue Jays only have 4 losses on the season, and of course, one of those is to UConn, and those two teams face off again before the season ends. But now let's talk about this matchup between the St. John's Red Storm. While the Red Storm is approaching Gampel, I know a snowstorm is approaching much of the East Coast right now, so hope everybody stays safe out there for the next couple days. But these two teams met almost 1 month ago on January 15th. UConn won 71 to 45. Both teams struggled from three in that game. UConn, as always, was pretty efficient from the floor, but honestly, they didn't really play a great game overall. Definitely not one of their better games on the season, but it's pretty much the same story for all these games. There's not much really to gain, as I've seen much of you guys say in the comments for the rest of the season. As far as the rest of these Big East matchups go, it's not really much gain at this point. The Huskies, they're going to dominate on defense. St. John's probably going to have a hard time scoring in this game. Probably a good amount of turnovers on their side as well. Expect Gino to pull the starters by the fourth quarter again, as the bench players got a good amount of minutes. And the last time these two teams squared off, I did see Gino said Aubrey should be good to go for this game. Now, I'm not sure if she will play or not. He might choose to rest her to rest her until Sunday for that matchup against South Carolina. Maybe she does get around 10 minutes to kind of get her back into the groove of things. I think at this point it's more about UConn playing consistent basketball, and after this game, they have an opportunity to go out to South Carolina and put on a show and really prove themselves, give themselves a lot of confidence before we get into March. I think at this point, I think they have a good amount of momentum. Of course, the loss at Tennessee really didn't help their calls for that, but I think the team is at a decent spot overall. I think we have a lot of talent on this roster. I think at this point it's all about putting it together. Gino being consistent with these lineups now, maybe switches to more of a guard heavy lineup with Ice Brady out. But it's going to be interesting to see how the last couple weeks here, these final 6 or 7 games, unfold for UConn. But like I said, I think it's about staying consistent for now. It would be great to go to South Carolina and get that win and really boost the whole team's confidence, have a huge amount of momentum going into March Madness. But it would be great as well to finally get a really good win, a really good quality win for this team. But we'll go ahead and jump on over to some comments, and I'll give my prediction for this game. First comment we will go to from Jason Turek. They said, I think KK Arnold should be starting. She brings that Nika Mule energy that can't be taught. Gino needs to remember that her and Shade got us to the Final Four last year. I think getting Aubrey involved way more over Jana is very important. He has to be smarter with his lineups right now. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like we said, KK and Ashlyn obviously stepping up big time last year. Wasn't really sure about their roles this season coming in because of, getting AZ Flood back, getting Caitlin Chin as a transfer. But they've done really great all season, in my opinion, coming off the bench. Ashland at times having to start because of AZ Fudd being injured a couple weeks. But, I think both of them have done a tremendous job once again. I think Ashland's maybe struggled going in and out of the starting lineup, but I think the past couple games she's been pretty good. Obviously, her role is to just come in, play great defense. She's always so disruptive. She never gives up on the play, and I think UConn relies on her 3-point shooting. As for KK starting, it's interesting. Like I said in the game recap, the last video. I really can't see Gino changing the starting lineup at this point in the season, but I think KK is still getting 20, almost 25 minutes per game is a must at this point. Same thing for Ashland around the 20-minute mark. Both of them have such a tremendous impact, but obviously as well for KK, her defensive energy, just her energy overall, it doesn't matter what side of the ball, just the whole entire time that she's in the game, she always brings that. She's great on the defensive side and for offense as well. Always driving to the lane, being aggressive, makes great passes. It's really all you can ask for if you're Gino and the Huskies, and Aubrey as well. To get more involved over Jana. I know Jana's, kind of struggled. Been off and on this season. Really didn't play much in the last game. I think Gino's kind of hinting towards going towards a smaller lineup as we get towards the end of the season. I know in years past he's definitely preferred the smaller lineup. Of course, you still have Sarah Strong out there to have some height down low, but I definitely think Gino is going to start veering towards a smaller lineup as we get towards the end of the season here. Next comment we'll go to from Abundant Life. They said, or Abundant Life, excuse me. A big win for Texas over South Carolina. It's interesting. Booker for Texas was lauded as having a great game. She had 20 points on 7 for 22 shooting. She made 6 to 7 free throws. Very good game against tough competition. But if Paige goes 7 for 22 or 10 for 22, people criticize her for her lack of efficiency. I get it. South Carolina probably really is the toughest defense in the country. So, again, not taking anything away from Booker, but just trying to put some perspective on all this. Well, yeah, obviously a huge win for the Longhorns over South Carolina. That was a big one for them. Anytime South Carolina has lost within the past 3 or 4 years is really surprising. But I think for Paige, like I said, I think for her it's been sort of a disappointing season, excuse me. But I think it's a good point because if Paige gets 13, 15 points, she has an off shooting night. And an off shooting night for her is really like you just mentioned, 7 for 22 or 10 for 22. If Paige Beckers does it, so at some points it seems like the world's crashing down. But yeah, I think ever since Paige put on that performance, her whole freshman season, the spotlight has always been on her. I know it brings in a lot of noise, a lot of pressure. I know she does a tremendous job dealing with all of that, but yeah, I think her coming back for her final season here at UConn, there's been so much pressure on her ever since, like I mentioned, her freshman season to try to bring a ring, bring a championship back to UConn. So there's always a tremendous amount of pressure, but I really think Paige is going to turn it around, really amp up the energy for these last couple of games, and I think she'll be tremendous as always as we go into March. Last two comments here. Couple of injury updates. S. Cole said they mentioned online that Aubrey twisted her ankle and is day to day. And the disruptive one said bad news about Ice after the game. Her recovery time could be as long as 5 weeks. That's the season. That is not good news. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I did see that after the game, of course, after I already recorded that game recap video. But Like I said, Gino did say Aubrey should be good for this game on Wednesday night. Like I said, not sure if she's going to play. She could get 10 to 15 minutes again. As for Ice Brady, like I said, I mentioned the smaller lineup. Obviously, it's not good to have anybody injured. Gino said she could be out 3, 4 to 5 weeks. Not really sure, but it definitely is disappointing for her. But I really don't think, as a team perspective, it's going to. Yeah, I don't think it's really going to affect UConn all that much. As like I mentioned, I think Gino really wants to go towards that smaller lineup as of right now. But I'll go ahead and give my prediction for this game and go ahead and sign off. Like I said, it's kind of the same story for this game, just like all the other Big East games. Easy win for UConn. I'll say 92 to 53. Huskies win. I think they really get their offense going, and of course, another solid defensive performance. But that is going to do it for me on this last check-in video. Like I said, 7:30 tomorrow night on Wednesday night. Huskies return to Gampel for a matchup against St. John's, and of course, as always, we'll have that game recap video right after the game for you guys. But I will see you guys tomorrow night for that video. It's been Rye on Listen Up.